The Vexari High Command had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that because humans were physically weaker than most spacefaring species, they would be easy to conquer. They had assumed that because humans had only recently achieved faster than light travel, they would be technologically inferior. But most of all, they had assumed that humans would behave rationally when faced with overwhelming odds. They were wrong on all counts. Commander Tex Lyth watched in horror as another Vexari battlecruiser exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The human vessel responsible for its destruction was less than half its size and had already sustained damage that should have rendered it inoperable. Yet it continued to fight, its erratic movement patterns defying every combat algorithm in the Vexari tactical database. "Impossible," Tex Lyth muttered, their crystalline appendages vibrating with stress. "They're violating every principle of space combat. Their maneuvers are putting as much strain on their own ships as our weapons." Strategic Officer Xra's holographic form flickered as they analyzed the battle data. The humans are. They're using their damaged ships as weapons. They're intentionally venting plasma from their wounded vessels to create navigational hazards for our fleet. It's complete madness. On the tactical display, a human cruiser with a shattered hull was deliberately positioning itself between two Vexari vessels, its failing containment field becoming an improvised explosive device. The resulting detonation damaged both Vexari ships, creating a gap in their formation that smaller human vessels immediately exploited. "Their neural patterns are all over the spectrum," reported biosensor analyst Ayatel. "They're experiencing fear, yes, but also excitement. Their stress hormones are through the roof, yet they're displaying signs of pleasure. How can they function like this?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Professor Mexlin, the fleet xenobiologist, had been quietly observing from their research station. Because this is what humans do best. They don't just survive chaos, they thrive in it. Their entire evolutionary history is built on turning disadvantages into advantages. The command crew turned their attention to the professor as another explosion rocked the flagship. Mexlin continued, their voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Think about it. They evolved on a death world with extreme temperature variations, constant natural disasters, and countless predators. Their solution? Become more unpredictable than their environment." On the screens, human ships were now using the debris field they had created as cover, popping out to launch attacks before disappearing back into the chaos. Their tactics seemed to change with each engagement, making it impossible for Vexari combat computers to establish a pattern. "But surely they must realize they can't win," Tex Lyth protested. "Even with our current losses, we still outnumber them 3-1. Mexlin's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. "That's exactly why they think they can win. Humans have a fascinating cultural obsession with underdogs entities that triumph despite overwhelming odds. They don't just accept such challenges, they romanticize them." As if to prove the professor's point, a human transmission cut through their communication channels. The voice was ragged but determined. "To all surviving ships, execute Operation Crazy Ivan." What followed defied explanation. The remaining human vessels suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, their engines burning well beyond safety limits. But instead of attacking, they flew past the Vexari fleet, dropping what appeared to be simple mining charges in their wake. "They're retreating?" Tex Lyth asked, hope creeping into their voice. "Negative," Xra responded, their hologram pulsing with alarm. "Those devices they dropped. They're creating a cascade effect in subspace. The distortion is..." The tactical display erupted with warnings as the human ships suddenly engaged their FTL drives, while still well within the system's gravity well, another impossibly dangerous maneuver. The subspace distortions from their wake, combined with the mining charges, created a massive gravitational wave that swept through the Vexari fleet like a tsunami through paper boats. When the chaos subsided, nearly half of the remaining Vexari ships were crippled, their carefully calibrated systems overwhelmed by the subspace disruption. The humans had turned their own retreat into a weapon, using their knowledge of their ship's limitations and their willingness to push past them to achieve what should have been impossible. "Full retreat," Texlyth ordered, their crystalline form dimming with the admission of defeat. "We grossly underestimated our opponent." "No," Maxlin corrected, their scientific detachment finally cracking. "We tried to estimate them at all. That was our mistake." You cannot quantify insanity, and humans have turned insanity into an art form. As the battered Vexari fleet limped away from the battlefield, they carried with them a lesson that would soon spread throughout the galaxy. Humans were indeed physically weaker than many species. They were technologically younger than most spacefaring races, but they were also gloriously, terrifyingly insane, and that made them one of the most dangerous species in the known universe. Because sometimes, the only way to win is to be crazy enough to try the impossible.